Good evening, Danny here from Easy 8. Different start to a show than what I've done normally. First of all, I hope you can hear me. Had some microphone problems just before I started, so do let me know in the live chat if you can hear me right now. I wanted to start tonight's show just a little bit differently because if you've been keeping up on Facebook over at Easy 8 over there, then you would know that for the past few weeks I've been dealing with some personal grief over the loss of my cat Newt. A couple of weeks ago on a Thursday evening, Newt seemed to fall very poorly, so I rushed her into the animal hospital overnight to the tune of £141 just for walking through the front door. Ultimately, Newt was very, very poorly and she didn't survive, and this was very, very sad. So basically, there were many things that were wrong, uh, and over a period of about 4 or 5 days, she was backwards and forwards from the vets, and it caused a lot of turmoil at home for me mostly, because Newt and I go back a long way. So about 5, 6 years ago, just at the tail end of 2016, there's a car park just around the corner from where I live. And I saw Newt, who wasn't named at that point, obviously, living in and around the cars and underneath cars, and when it was sunny, on the saddles of some of the motorbikes that park there. I'd go through that car park every day because there's no driveway to my house, so I'd have to go there and park my car. And it's also en route through town, so either way, I'd always go through this little car park. And after a while, I seemed to realise that this cat was actually stray and she wasn't in very good shape. So over a period of a few months, I started to kind of get used to her and get her used to me and feed her a little bit. And she started to recognise me and come on over. And in November, right at the end of November in 2016, I was able to bring her home. I put up posters all over the place, trying to say like, "Hey, there's a lost cat, and maybe it's yours." And I kept those posters on every lamppost in the town for about 3 weeks, and no one phoned up. Well, they did about a different cat, so not about Newt. So Newt was a stray. So I took her to the vets, and we looked after her. Got her microchipped. She'd already been spayed, so she had known a home at some point. And yeah, we got her microchipped, and she has my surname, and I named her Newt because she's a white-haired cat who was a stray. And Aliens is my favourite film ever. I think it's a fantastic film. And Newt, of course, is a white-haired stray girl, a character in that film. So I decided to call her Newt. For 6 years, Newt lived here. Hopefully, I transformed her life. Hopefully, she lived her best life, and she became, quite frankly, my best friend. And in the absence of children, Newt filled that role, as pets often do. So I was hoping that I'd have a few more years with Newt. She became very, very poorly. She had a fur ball in her stomach and in her intestine that was the size of a tennis ball that the very kind and wonderful vets were able to remove. And they kept that fur ball and showed me it was the size of a tennis ball. So that was the first of her complications. And the next was that she was building up fluid in her chest cavity, which she had drained no less than 3 times over the course of a short week. We were able to bring her home for a while, and then she had to go back in. And very sadly, after as much trying as we possibly could, the vets and myself decided that it was time to say goodbye to Newt. It was very, very sad, and I still get very, very choked up about it. I get more upset about losing Newt than I do about some very close family members that have passed in recent and not so recent years. So it kind of goes to show that the friendship that I had with Kat. I never ever considered her as a pet or as a companion. She was my friend, and quite frankly, my best friend. And yeah, she passed away in my arms, so that was kind of nice and kind of sad. And she purred into her last breath. So the last couple of weeks have been very, very difficult, and I'm still coming to terms with it. Time heals, but you're never quite enough. You're always left with that little bit of a scar left over. So tonight, I really wanted to kind of do this as a tribute to Newt, because I miss her lots. Even though she never really came up here in the studio, she was always in the house when I'd finished, and the house is much, much quieter. So I'm just going to take a minute just to kind of get myself sorted out. Hopefully, Stafford can sort out his sound. And yeah, I'll be back in just a second. So I'll see you in just a moment. Good evening. Welcome back to Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny. It says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. It has been a couple of weeks, has it not, since the last time we all got together? Yeah, so thanks for bearing with me at the beginning of the show. I thought it was just a nice thing to do and to say and kind of let you know what's been going on. I am absolutely fine with my emotions and the fact that sometimes I don't control them. So I am quite upset, but that's absolutely fine. I miss my friend Newt incredibly. And yeah, I just kind of had to take a few weeks away. So in the absence of the show, thank you so much for being patient. I was online a lot talking to people, but nowhere near as much as as I have done in the past. But the show goes on, and I've kind of got to keep myself busy. And yeah, like coming back into the studio today, everything, not a single thing has been touched since the last time I came into the studio. What feels like a million years ago now, and it's only been 2 weeks. It just goes to show me how much I need this hobby to keep myself occupied. So yeah, 2 weeks away. And it feels like that I've got 6 months to catch up on. I hope you've been well. If you are new here to Easy 8, Easy 8 is not a tutorial by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a place to come and hang out with your friends or make new friends with these guys over there. We are not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on, what else have we got up there? Discord, Easy 8 After Party. Yeah, of course, you should definitely come along to that. And if you are so inclined and haven't got one already, go down there into the description of the video, find yourself a link, and click on there and then get on over at the end of the show, because we like to hang out and talk rubbish and stuff like that. If you like what we do here, consider liking, following and subscribing to the show, because every little bit really helps me try to make the most out of this show for you guys and for me, because yeah, I need it. We got some people, some fine people over in the live chat. We've got Keston, we've got Leslie, we've got Jeff, we've got Stafford, and we've got Dave. Hi guys, thanks ever so much for coming along. Was there some comments going in there? Can hear you absolutely fine, buddy. Yeah, cheers, thanks. Literally, just as I was just about 5-10 minutes before I was going to go, I was just putting some pictures together just to kind of, show my old friend off. And it messed up my microphones. I don't know why. Just we're like, nope, we're not using your microphone anymore. I'm like, I don't know. I can't do a sound test. I've only got minutes to go. So yeah, hopefully Stafford can hear. Yeah, he says there now. He says he can hear me. Turn your sound up, Staff, says Jeff. Leslie says you're most welcome, man. Not a problem at all, dude. Thanks very much for being so understanding. I absolutely need to take those weeks away. I even took a few days off of work as well. Yeah. I needed to kind of sort everything out. Staff says, yay, I have sound. Had to log out and in. Love the pictures of Newt. Dave says, evening. Hi, guys. Thank you very much for coming along. If you are new to the show, coming along, get chatting over there. These guys want to talk to you about what it is that you're doing. Mellabrook has joined us. Yo! Mellabrook, we haven't seen you since, the early days of Easy 8. Welcome back to the show. Thanks very much for stopping by. Yeah, I've got a whole folder on my PC. It's thousands of photographs of Newt. Like I say, she was a family member, not a pet. So I just literally thought I'd just stick a few photos together, some of the funner ones that I remember. And yeah, I just thought I'd do this show in tribute to her, to remember her. So I would absolutely love to know what it is that you are painting tonight. So if you do have yourself a little project on the go, let us know. Drop it over there to talk to us about it. You can put photos up if you want to over at the Facebook page at Easy 8, which is I pointed in the right direction. I got it. There it is up there. So you can go and visit us at Facebook if you want to, or if you want to come and talk about it in the live chat, with the video chat later on over at Discord, then you can do that at the end of the show as well, because we want to see what it is. Maybe you're looking for some inspiration or motivation. Hopefully we can give you all of that. So yeah, I haven't got anything planned today. I knew that I wanted to do tonight's show, but while everything's been kind of very, very hectic and emotional, I just literally, I put no pressure on myself to make any commitments as to what I was going to do. Mellabrook says, episode 22, I think. We're on episode 67, bro. You've been out of touch. Leslie says, I understand. Always had cats, so can completely relate when what you've done is the sweetest thing. Thanks very much. Always had cats. Growing up, I had too many cats, probably. So it wasn't new to have a cat. Newt was certainly the first cat that I've had in my own home, and I'm 40 now, so it's been a long time since there's been a cat always around. I just happened to pick her up. I suppose in some ways, some of my friends say that we chose each other rather than I never owned her. I never considered owning a cat like that. So yeah, it was definitely a friendship, and it feels like a very personal, very close loss. But you know, you've got to carry on, right? Keston says, working on Battletech scenery. Oh, scenery, fantastic. We should do something on scenery as well. Haven't done anything on scenery for a long time. Would love to see some pictures of that, so do consider sticking it up on the Facebook page. That'd be wonderful. I've lost my mouse. Where is it? Here it is. There we go. Cool. Let's get rid of that subscribe. So, if you remember the last time that we came online, I've got all the new hardware going. We're on like, you know, like 1080p. That's fantastic. But, oh, I've just got... Click to read your unread notifications. I thought that was like an alert for me, like you're going to lose your connection, but that's fine, that's okay. Yeah, if you remember a couple of weeks ago on the last episode, with all the new hardware and the new cameras that are in place, for some reason this one doesn't want to work all the time. I've done as much digging around and trying to find out what the experts say about it, and they said absolutely nothing really that useful, apart from one guy who says add a transition in between your transitions. So what's going to happen is when I move over to this camera, I'm going to flick back to a title screen and then back to it, and then hopefully it works. Now I could hide this behind a veil of, you know, you would never know. But I think it's important to be transparent, because if it all goes wrong, it's going to be terrible, because you need to see what I'm doing down here. So let's give this a go. Here we go. Let's go to the workbench. It didn't work. Oh my goodness, how terrible. Let's try again. So let's just see. I'm just going to go straight to it. This is very distressing. Well, I don't know what to do. So what I've got here, what I thought I was going to crack on with this evening, is some of the mini tanks that I've been playing with for the last few weeks. We've been playing Water Tanker, me and my friends Stafford and Dave and Kess. We've been getting together whenever we can to play Water Tanker, and I've got a whole collection that unfortunately right now that you can't see. They're in this little box. Here they are, loads of them. And what I was doing, excuse me, when I started to collect them, was I started to paint them as if I was doing one of my 1/35th builds. So I was using all the enamel products and things, so that I could like stain them, pin line them and things like that, pin wash them, sorry. Always call it pin lining. But actually, these miniatures should be done quickly, and it takes a very long time to do it in all the effort like you would do with the 1/35th. Understandably, if I had just a couple of them, then I would, but I want to have like a massive collection, and I'm starting to get that. I have quite an insane collection now. So actually, speed is of the essence. So I'm trying to think of quicker ways of doing it, and though the enamel, once you start doing it slowly, has a great effect, it's not enough. It's too fiddly, and it's too dirty that the effects aren't all that great at the end of it. So when I was visited by some friends the other week, someone had been doing some German vehicles in the German yellow colour, and was using brown washes like the Citadel wash I've got right here, which is Agrex Earthshade. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm not going to do enamels on these little miniatures anymore, and I'm just going to have a go at doing acrylics. So pretty much that's one of the jobs that I think I'm going to do tonight. And also over the last couple of, well, not over the last couple of weeks, but up until like the last time I did a show, I was painting all the tracks on my tanks. Now they were it was very slow doing them, because I think I was using the wrong size brushes. I spent an entire show just painting the brown on some of these vehicles, and that's not cool. That's not what I wanted to spend my time doing. So what I'm going to do, or what I did do at the end of that show, is I just used one type of brush, this one brush here, and it sped the whole process up. I was able to do like 5 times the normal amount, and than I did in the show in 20 minutes. So brush size is everything, right? Use the right brush. I've got a couple of brushes that I've started relying on a little bit, but actually on the inside of the tracks, all the little teeth along the inside that would kind of like be that would guide between all the road wheels, they stand out because they're not painted. They're the same color as the rest of the hull. And though they're so small, you could just get away with it being on the table. Like if I hold that up there, you can't really see. But when you start paying a little bit more attention, it is quite noticeable. And when you're starting to use bigger brushes, like the Kolinsky brush, which is this is a number 2, it's too big, even though it's got a really fine point on it. So what I'm going to do, here's the difference between the two. You can see that's my Kolinsky, the big one, and then I've got this tiny little sable brush, just a cheap little brush, that one really, but it's really, really good for doing really fine details. So hopefully this evening I'm going to get on with doing some of these details with the correct size brush, just to try and catch up, and hopefully the camera works. That'll be nice, wouldn't it? I did do a test just before the show started and it worked 1 in 3 times. So it's very embarrassing, but this is showbiz. Let's give it a go and see what happens. So let's try and go back to the workbench. Here we go. Absolutely insane. Don't know what's going on here. Well, unfortunately, you can't see what I'm doing. Nope. I'll try and do a little fade. Go back to a little transition in the middle again. See what happens. Nothing. I don't know what I can do to fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay here. This is the best thing to do, and I will try my best to show you what it is that I'm doing as I go. I've also noticed again this week that the music has looped, which is very unusual. It did that the last time. Looks like I've got some bugs to work out in the show. So I've got here a panther, and what else have I got? I've got a king tiger. I've got a panther. I've got 2 panthers. One panther was already done with the enamels. These are going to look quite different, I think, because the enamel colour is very muted in comparison to the citadel colours. That's fine, but there is going to be a difference, I think. So let's. If I put the panther over there, he's been done in the enamel colours, and I was just trying to rush it, I think, and I was trying to make it look like a mixture between the pin wash and the like the sort of griming, streaky grime. I don't think I was in the right frame of mind at the time doing it. Of course, this was all before the emotional upsets of the last few weeks. I just, sometimes you're in a good mood to paint, and other times you're not, right? It's the way it works. So I've got a king tiger, or a tiger 2. Very cool. I've got a yagged panther, which in What a Tanker it turns out is probably one of the best tanks you can possibly have. It's a monster. I've got a short barreled, so an early Panzer IV. And I've also got a Stug 3, one of my favourites. Both of them are my favourites, really. So, right. I'm going to start off nice and easy, I think. I'm going to start off with the King Tiger, just because it's a nice big tank to start with. And I'm going to go in straight away with some Agrax. I'm just going to give it a shake, and I'm going to stick it on the Easy 8 WAS machine. Give it a bit of a mix. I haven't used any of these paints for such a long time. Don't really have to give a mix so much on the shades or the washes, but it's always worth giving it a little bit of a go. Right. And for this, I think I will use my Kolinsky brush, because it's easy to control things like this, and it's got lots of bristles, nice and easy to control. I'm going to give them a bit of a clean because they've been sat here for a while. I had my paint water that I cleaned just before the show started, and had a thick layer of dust on the top. It was scummy, so the models are going to be the same, right? So if you are doing something tonight, or even if you're not, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks? Surely it's only me been taking a break. Everybody else has got their projects to do, right? Would love to know if you've been successful in some of your ventures. I'll just throw that on the floor. I would love to know if you've been successful in some of your ventures, whatever that has been recently. If you're doing Battletech scenery, or if you've been doing tanks, been doing a bit of Warhammer, because the new Eldar Codex is out. Mellabrook was telling me the other day, and I've seen it, and it is It's a good book. You should definitely have a look if you haven't already. So let's get some Agrax on the brush. This could be too thick, even as a wash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a bit of water. I'm going to mix it in with a bit of water in my little dry palette here. I haven't had time enough really recently to clean up and prepare my wet palette, which would have been very appropriate for this. But I think just a little bit of water will just help stop the Agrax being so intense. I'm going to start on the turret. I'm trying to get it under the camera, but you can't see. But I will show you. And if I still can't get it by the intermission, I will put some photos immediately up on Facebook. So far, it's a good start. I suppose what I'm hoping for is a filter and a pin wash at the same time. So I'm kind of going in as a sludge wash, but as I've already said, I've thinned it right down with some water. Water might not be the best thing to have used here, because you do get tide marks. I could use a medium, but water will make it nice and runny, nice and thin, which is kind of what I want. So I've just got to take my time really with this, rather than just kind of slapping it on wholesale sludge, which is, you can get some wonderful effects for it, but that's not what I'm after here. I want these tanks to be quite clean. Jeff says, thatching a full Napoleonic town. It's an immense town. I've seen it. I not like the real town, but the town that you're making. If you're interested in seeing that, you should head over to Facebook and go and find Purple Line Creations, because I've never seen so many handmade buildings in all my days. It's a bespoke customer build, and it is huge and fantastic, by the way. Wouldn't like to be thatching all of that. That would be awkward. And Leslie says, so recorded music today, my friends. The music project is nearly finished. 4 months worth of work, so really happy. So as a reward, watching this awesome show. Ah, stop it, you. Well done. And thank you. So getting some good effects from this. I'll probably put a bit too much water in there, so add a bit of Agrax back in. What I'll do on the next tank is I'll try it with a paint medium instead of water and see what the difference is. But already much better effects than what I was getting with the enamel. Like I say, I love the enamel. You get some wonderful effects with it, but it's just the bigger builds. And there's no reason why I can't do some extra weathering over the top later on. Like this is just to kind of bring out all those details. Because these tanks are so small, yet they are so intricately detailed. You don't want to miss out on a thing. There we go. Just around the details, again you can't see, but it's pooling up quite a bit around the top. So while it's still wet, you can use your bristles of your brush just to kind of put the point in there. And if you haven't got much paint or no paint in it, then it just kind of picks all that paint back up again, draws it away. It's called capillary action. And it's really good for controlling where the paint goes. And if you're using contrast paints, it's definitely what you want to be doing. So with contrast paints, you want to be painting the whole area with the paint. You want to get that kind of filter, that glaze effect, but it will pool, and then you use your brush to kind of just dip it into while it's still wet and it dries quite quickly. You want to get the tip of your brush into that pool and then draw up just that pool. If you start brushing it around, even if once it's been sat there for 20 seconds, you're going to negatively impact that contrast paint. So if you're a contrast painter, beware. If you didn't already know, most people do. Contrast paint's been around for a while now. I have toyed around with like a few contrast paints. Some of them are really, really good and exactly what I've been needing. Others, they're not really what I hope they would be. That's not to say that they're not good. They are fantastic at what they are. They're really good for you getting a quick table up and running, and they can also do some really cool like advanced techniques. But yeah, they're not for me. Army Painter, of course, do a paint called Speed Paints. Essentially the same thing, but it's their own product and blend. I've not tried them. A lot of people have said some very good things about them, but they are essentially the same thing, just a different blend of paints. So if you are going to get those and think that they are better than contrast paints, it's not that they're better, they're different. They are applied in the same way. I have seen comparisons of them, and some of the Citadel ones are better, and some of the Army Painter ones are better. It's all about what you want. So yeah, I'd love to know if you get some Citadel paint. Sorry, if you get some Army Painter speed paints, I'd love to know how you get on with them. Especially if you compare them against some Citadel stuff, because that would be really interesting. I've done the turret of this King Tiger already, which is fantastic, and now I'm onto the hull, and I'm just starting at the back on the top of the hull where all like the engine deck things are, all the engine access plates, and it's very tempting straight off the bat to just slap it on all over. And while I am kind of doing that, just taking my time. I don't want to like rush ahead. It's going nice and fast, and I'm getting some really nice effects from it. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. It's probably because I had so much fun and so much success with enamel paints on the larger builds that you know, I instantly came back to them, you know, to kind of do this on these little tanks. You know, if you're doing tanks, use the same painting techniques, but don't. Because I've used quite a bit of water here, I'm getting quite a bit of tiding. I'm watching the paint go down, and it all kind of beads up into these little surface areas, and that is going to cause me problems if I don't stay on top of it. So as it starts to recede, I kind of coax it back into the areas that I want it to be, and it starts to kind of stretch and stick a little bit. It's very hard to explain when I haven't got the camera working. Normally you could kind of see it and I could talk about it as I go through it. But it is working. And then I just kind of manipulate it a little bit. There we go. I've almost got like a perfect mix here, really. It takes a couple of brush strokes to get it where it needs to be. It's working very, very well. What I'm really happy about is the opaqueness isn't too much. It's transparent enough that you're actually seeing the effects of the modulation paints underneath. Because with the yellow, I really like, even the small tanks, I really like to do a little bit of modulation effects. So having darker colours at the back and brighter colours at the front, it just gives them something, just makes them look nice. Whether anybody, you know, the casual viewer of my tanks notices that, I don't know. I don't do it for that. I do it because I see it and I enjoy doing it. Some of the best effects I've had with modulation paints was actually with the olive green for the allied colours, so like for Shermans and things like that. Green is such a beautiful colour. And Leslie says, I do love the sludge effects, but I'm biased. Me and Nurgle are homies. Yeah, fair. Sludge everything. Sludge the sludge. Okay, I'm working my way down the sides now and onto it's not the actual skirts, but it's just the side of the hull, and then there's like a little bit of a skirt that kind of overhangs the top of the tracks and the wheels. And yeah, it's all starting to come together. It's all starting to look really, really nice. It's really picking out the details on the sides, because on the on the King Tiger, it's got like huge tow ropes and tools and things like that, just like the Panther in fact, so I wasn't wrong by saying that. Yeah, and it really just kind of picks those out and enhances them. I don't have to go in and do some sort of crazy detail work with a fine brush later on. you know, pick out all the metal bits later on. I can do. I'm probably not going to. Less is more, right? Less is more on these little tanks. I don't really want there to be too much detail because it will just probably look a little bit gaudy, a little bit too much, a little too opulent maybe. Perhaps I'll try it on one and just like kind of like do some like metal on some of like the bare metal pieces. But it might just be too stark a contrast. What I would like is to get some decals. I haven't got any decals yet for these little tanks, but I can get some. Just to have like the little iron cross on the German tanks, and to have like an Allied star on the Allied stuff, on the American stuff. But I don't have any, basically. I have a couple of little symbols on some of my Shermans because when I first started collecting them, I managed to find some like numbers, like tank numbers for Allied stuff. But I don't have any Allied stars or anything like that yet. You know, the cool and obvious stuff. It's gone on a bit too heavy there, but because it's nice and wet, I can just remove that nice and quickly. A little bit of tea staining as well. So again, tip of the brush, just gently run it through those areas, and it picks it all up. Tea staining or coffee staining, whichever you prefer to use, all the same thing, isn't it really? Just looking back over the rest of the hull and all the bits that I've done so far, making sure that it's not pooling up, and if it is, that it's not doing it too much. Okay. And now for the other side. It's looking really good. See all those details that are all coming out. Such a subtle effect, but it makes it so much easier to see all those details when you compare it to one that hasn't had these effects yet. Much different, much different. So yeah, it's definitely working. So thanks, Stafford, because you're the gentleman who showed me those tanks don't need to have hours and hours of all that really cool effects. So all that time spent doing those effects, when actually you can achieve just a gooder look with this very minimalistic acrylic approach. Leslie says, such sludgy goodness. And that is looking killer, dude. The effect really makes all the difference. I wish I could just show you on the bigger camera. What I'll do is I'll just finish doing the back, which is what I've started doing now, and I'll have another flick over and see if we can get the other camera working. I'm sure there's like a solution to how that camera issue, you know, how to solve it. I just haven't found it yet. So I apologise humbly. Okay, so that's the turret and the hull, front, sides and back all done. I do need to go and do the wheels, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry so I can handle it a bit better. Right, let's pop that paintbrush down. Let's give this another try. To the workbench. Curses! What is going on? It's so savage. You're really putting me through the hoops here. Let's try another transition. Let's just stare at the black void. Maybe you can see it. Maybe it's just. Maybe I can't. I don't know. Ah, dear. Crazy. Well, let's come away from there then, shall we? I'm not a technical genius. I'm just not a technical genius. Well, if you're if you're tuning in for the first time and you're like, "What is this amateur?" But it is really amateur. I'm really sorry. I love doing it. It's very embarrassing, but you know, it's not really about what I'm doing. It's about what you're doing. It's about having a chat with those guys over there and chatting with me and stuff and talk about what you've got. So, right. That's the king tiger. I'm going to move over now to the Jagdpanther. It's a fantastic tank. The reason, Jeff says, have you tried turning it off and on again? Do you know? Yes, actually I have, and that hasn't seemed to have worked. The reason that the Jagdpanther is such a good tank in the game What a Tanker is because it's both a fast tank and a tank destroyer. And it's fully enclosed in its armor. So in the game, tank destroyers get an additional benefit when they're trying to aim at their opponents. When you're rolling your dice, you get commands to try and things like acquire your target, to try and aim at your target, and you can turn any dice into an aim for free. So if you haven't rolled it, you can always use something, you know, like a wild card if you like, which is great when you're trying to aim as a tank destroyer. If you've already got an aim, it increases or improves your aim, so it's a phenomenal tank in that respect. Being a fast tank, it does the same thing but with movement dice, so it kind of gets to move around the table like more than normal. So if it hasn't got any movement, normally it would just kind of sit there and do nothing. But this means that it can always drive, or if it's already driven once, it can drive again, which means it's really, really manoeuvrable. Also, most tank destroyers are open topped, like the Hellcat, for example. It's made of, you know, chocolate bar wrappers. It delivers a hell of a punch, so don't stand in front of it, but it is a glass hammer. But this is a Panther, and it's a big Panther. Because it's got a casemate, it doesn't have a turret. It's got an enormous gun, so it punches even harder than a standard Panther. And because it doesn't have a turret, they thought, oh, let's stick some more armor on it. So it's fast, it's really aimy, it's really, really armory, and it's really, really shooty. Except no exceptions, this is the tank that you want. The only thing that it really loses out on is a turret, but if you're driving, you don't need to worry about it. So yeah, the Jagdpanther, great. Kesslin says, do you have both cameras on a USB hub? Maybe give one its own port on the computer with an extension lead. Done and done. Yes, originally I did have them on the same USB hub, and they just were conflicting. I couldn't even get them to work at all. This one is now on its own extension, and yeah, it does what it does, which is not what I want it to. I'm sure there'll be like another workaround. Perhaps I just need a better graphics card or a new port or card or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's a shared problem between all Streamlabs users. So I use Streamlabs OBS as the broadcasting software, which is a like an open source version of OBS Studio. It works almost identical to OBS Studio. It's just kind of got some more glamoury things on the top, like, you know, all the little frilly bits and stuff that I put on here. And it's quite user friendly as well. So yeah, I think it would be easier if I could name both of the cameras individually, because they are both the same camera, so they show up as the same name. And I think it's about the conflict there. Sometimes I can get it to do its thing, other times I can't. So if that is right, it is intermittently an issue. Okay, so probably mixed a bit too much water in here for this. The other one I had perfect. It's okay, I'll just add a bit more until I get it right. And this one, for some reason, I don't know why, unless I did and it just hasn't. Oh no, I have done it. Say what you're talking about, Danny. Is the modulation colours. It looks like I didn't do a modulation on this one, but actually looking at it now, it is. It's just quite subtle compared to the other tanks. So as I'm putting this wash on, I was like, oh, have I actually even done this the same way? It is making a very nice filter on this slab panel armour. Very little detail when it's compared to the King Tiger or other Panthers. It doesn't have all those tow ropes and things like that on it, just big open slabs. But on the other side, it's adding a filter and onto the front there. So it's starting to pick up all those details. Stafford says, so is the Hetzer, fast and tank destroyer. He's slightly less armour, I believe, though, isn't it?
and slightly less punch. I mean, it's a Panther, it's a big tank. Wasn't supposed to be as big as it was though. It was supposed to be a medium tank. Hitler decided he wanted to make it a heavy tank, and a few problems started to show around about that point. Still a phenomenal tank though. It's supposed to be a medium tank. I believe it was supposed to be around about the 30 tons, but it came out much more than that, I think. Keeping my brush strokes like long and firm all the way, so just trying to avoid doing little touches and things like that. Just trying to stretch that colour and that filter along those big open panels, trying to avoid it when it separates. It wants to kind of pull back together again. I did say I was going to use medium on this one. I haven't, so I'll try to remember that in the next round. Kesslin says, if they are both on the same name, that will cause conflict. I'd say that's your problem. Oh, Chimera Wargaming. Good evening to all. Just a quick hello. Hi, Chimera Wargaming. Nice to see you again. Thanks for dropping in. So kind of you. I believe I have a link to Chimera Wargaming just down there in the description to the video. If I haven't, at the end of the show, when I'm allowed to edit it, because you're not allowed to edit a live video, as soon as I can, I will put a link in there. Can't remember if I have. So, yeah, Chimera Wargaming. Go and check them out. They're fantastic. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Right, so just getting underneath the skirts. That's a bad sentence. I probably shouldn't say that. Getting underneath the skirts. There's a little line along the side, just above where the wheels and the tracks are. There's like a line which would hold the side skirts on. They were called a shirtsen. They are not present on this particular tank. So what it is just left me a little line that I have to get the colour underneath, so to stop it from standing out. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the colour on the front panel there, where I've tried to correct a little mistake, but if you look under the barrel you can see it's quite heavy under there, and that's kind of like coffee staining that we want to avoid. Oh yeah, Stafford says much less armour. The Hetzer compared to the Jagdpanther. Wasn't the Hetzer based on the Czechoslovakian style chassis, like so for the Panzer 28T or 38T? Dave Lester says, talking about size again, are we? Yeah, absolutely. For those of you that don't know, Stafford couldn't shut up. When Easy 8 went on the road and we all went out together to Bovington Tank Museum, an awesome day out, the Panther, even in the face of things like the King Tiger, is an immense tank. You just don't realise how big it is. So it just turned into the day's joke. Stafford could not believe how big that tank is. To be fair, it is a big tank, but shut up. So now we all wind him up about it, because it's funny. Right, I think I've just about saved that front panel from being too coffee stainy. I'm still trying to go back in and sort it out. Just gonna get this back panel painted, and then I will come in with a clean brush and see if I can absorb any dollops of paint colour. Nice. I wish I could show you on the main camera. Oh, Jeff says it's the 38T. Oh, there you go. So yeah, the Hetzer, a similar idea to the Jagdpanther, but on the 38T, which is one of the Czech tanks. I think when they took over all the Czech factories, they just started making the Czech tanks for themselves, because why not? They're yours now, right? Oh no, what I've started doing there is I've started pulling the colour around. Oh, nightmare. Okay, saved, that's good. Cool, looks grimy now, that's good. Okay, so on the front of the tank now, if you look on one side to try and line it up in the camera, you can see down the side, you've got like streaking over on this side over here. You can see streaking where it was starting to pool up. So I've gone in with my brush, tried to clean up that area, and I've cleaned away where the pool is, but it's left a tide mark around the outside. The only way really to fix that is to strip it all back and start again, or just to go over with another coat, which is what I'm going to have to do. It's not so bad. So I've got to make sure I don't keep doing it because it will build up and build up. I just left it too long really, and because it's such a large open panel, it's very easy to, well, it's not very easy to hide it. It's probably the best way of saying it. Normally you can like, sort of hide things around like details and things like that, but not so much when you haven't got all those details there. Okay, that's better. The thing is, the front looks dirtier than one of the sides, or even both of the sides, so I'm going to go back in now with another thin, controllable layer over the sides, just to filter it more than anything. Not to get the details standing out. There's very few details, as I've already said. It's just trying to affect the colour. Actual colour of the tank. Not so smooth this one as compared to the King Tiger. It still looks good. Okay, let's do the cannon. The problem with acrylic is it dries so fast, so when you're working with enamels you get quite a long working time, and if you just agitate it with a thinner like white spirit, it reactivates. Despite, it doesn't matter how long it's been dry for, it will always reactivate. So yeah, you kind of have a lot of grace working with enamels. One of the reasons why people choose oil paints or enamels over acrylics. Acrylics just have really good range of colours, which was the reason people always chose those over oil paints up until recently, when oil paints started to change, and you get some really good colours out there now. Okay, let's leave that bad boy to sit there. Very different from the King Tiger, totally. Going back to the King Tiger, if I pick him up to show you how he's turned out, it's come out very, very well. Focus now. For some reason, my camera's autofocus is reset. I didn't get a lot of time to set up today, as you can tell. Come up rather well. Katie has one. Borrow hers. Katie is my partner. She also has a little tank. Not a collection, just a little P38. Or 3018, not P38. Panzer 38, yeah. Right, I've got my Stug and my Panzer IV to go. I will probably do the Stug first because it doesn't have a turret and it's easy to do. What I am going to do here is I'm going to have a go with medium, like a paint medium. I've got a couple of mediums. I've got Lamy medium, which is just a standard medium. It thins it down, but it allows the paint to retain its tension, surface tension. Water will break it down, which is why it always wants to retract and pull back into itself. And I've also got the contrast medium, which is to turn your paints into a contrast. Now, normally you would add a colour paint, like a standard paint, rather than a wash into that. So the idea is that you would turn it into a contrast paint, so you kind of get that glaze effect. But it might have an interesting property when mixed with a wash as well. So I'm going to give both a go. So on the Stug, I'm just going to use standard Lamy and medium. Leslie says, that is such a cool look on the tank. Well done, dude. Thanks, man. Ooh, apparently I can't hold things today. So just going to put a little bit of medium in the middle of the palette there, in a nice clean area, and then I'm going to drop some Agrax into it. Try and smush as much of it out of the bristles as possible. Wash the brush out. Don't want to be putting any medium into the wash, although I don't think it would really matter an awful lot. Let's get some colour on the bristles and just drop that in. Probably going to need a bit more than that. I'm going to go for about a 50-50 mix. I don't know what a good ratio is here, but 50-50 seems to be a good idea. And again, it just looks like normal Agrax Earthshade. It's just been watered down with paint medium. Okay, so here is the Stug 3. You can see that. Did I do a little bit of yeah, I did a tiny amount of modulation on him. He came out the strongest on the King Tiger, but you can see the back up here is slightly darker than the front, and it stands out. It stands out on the tabletop once you kind of got it all sort of rendered with the shade colours. Starting at the front. There's some interesting textures on the track armour on the top. It's like some sort of checker plate or something like that. And of course there's lots of tiny little grooves for it all to fit into. Just on the front of each front wheel there. Can't orientate properly in front of this camera. When there are so many details and this little tank here is bristling in them, at that point you can start to consider sludge washing, because it's not like you've got big flat areas to filter. So actually having a Stug, much easier to paint in that respect. But if you're going to pick out all the detail individually, probably one of the worst tanks to have. You want to go more to the Jagd Panther, where there's very little on it. I never really play with the sort of the models that you should play with. In the tank games like What a Tanker, I'm more inclined to do so. I don't take, you know, element XYZ because it's going to perform way better on the table. I just like to take what I like. I'm really into historical accuracy, so if I'm going to play What a Tanker or something like that, then I'll probably take the appropriate tanks that you'd find in a formation or something like that. But I've always subscribed to, you know, what's cool. So 40k, which is probably the best example of a game that I play, I'll take whatever I like the look of, or what I like, you know, the background or the lore for, over what performs better on the tabletop. I just can't play like that. I'd much rather take the things that I enjoy and lose a game than just try to play for winning. I'm not a serious tournament player like that. I just can't do it. But when it comes to like tank games, yeah, I'm more inclined to take the historical thing. So if you're playing allies, you know, take a few Shermans and maybe a Firefly to go with it. The other day we played two teams, allies versus Axis. We had Keston and myself, we were playing allies. So we had a Sherman and M5 Stuart each. That was cool. And we went up against a team playing German. And they had a Tiger and a Jagdpanther. Suffice to say that we got it handed to us. And that's how it would have gone. So there's something to be said about historical accuracy there. I lasted out. I managed to outmaneuver both the bigger tanks, and then I got caught with my pants down. And that Tiger. Woo. Don't get shot in a Stuart by a Tiger. It's Danny's advice for the day. This little Stug is coming out absolutely brilliantly with this effect. It's absolutely stonkers. I really, really wish that the camera would pay it some justice, but it's not, unfortunately. Mellabrook says victory over fun or friendships. Yeah, I've never really been down for that. I don't get it. If you do, that's cool. I mean, it's a totally valid way of playing, right? You do what you want. And then, of course, there are really big tournaments out there that, get very fussy about the mini table, the rules. And if you're playing for that, then that's exactly how you should be playing, because, every little bit will help you get that victory. But like with the addition in Warhammer 40,000 of narrative play, where you basically write your story as you go, and you've got campaigns that are designed to help you create missions around the story, or so when you create a story you can build missions around it. It's it's a phenomenal way of playing. I think I've probably used the word phenomenal 90 times so far this evening. Stop it. Okay, Stug is done. Let's wash that brush out. I quite like the medium. Did a good job there. Nice. Got a little bit of build up on the front. See if I can just remove that with a little bit of capillary. There we go. I'll take some photos during the intermission, and I'll put them up on Facebook. So if you haven't been over there before, oh man, wrong side. Facebook, there it is, up there. Go and have a look. There's a link down the bottom as well. Right, cool. So yeah, let's go take a break. I don't know if this camera's going to work at all this evening. I hope it does. It's starting to do my head in. It's a little bit embarrassing. Would love to know, Kess. Maybe phenomenal. would love to know if you know how to change names of USB devices. That would be great. Cool. Anyway, look, we're going to take 10 minutes as we always do. So if you're new here, go and make yourself a cup of tea, or go stretch your legs and focus your eyes. But definitely go and change your paint water. Just do it. All right. See you in a minute.
There seems to be many technical problems going on today, and I don't really know what's going on. Really apologise for that. I don't know what's happening. So yeah, I thought I'd just try and sneak a quick shot with the camera here. It's still not working. So yeah, I'm really sorry. We're going to have to carry on looking at my face. I hope you had a good break. I went and quickly grabbed myself a drink. Blood orange and vodka. An interesting combination. Can't get enough of it. It's very yummy. So, just before the end of the intermission there, I thought I'd mix up some of the contrast medium, and it's if you look at the colour there, that's a transparent bottle, so it's kind of got like a whiteness to it, as where the other medium, though it looks like it's a white bottle, it's actually like a frosted white. This is very, very clear liquid. I've mixed in some Agrax Earthshade, and it's kind of added a milkiness to it. It's kind of weird, so it has actually affected the colour. I didn't really mind the colour, thought I'd stick that onto the tank. So what I've done on the Panzer IV, in the turret ring where it will normally be hidden, I thought I'd give it a try. It's not really a colour that I like, so while it's not a bad colour, I don't think it really suits it. So I think that the contrast medium is not the effect that I'll be using here on these tanks. And I wonder if I'm using it correctly, because it is milky. Maybe I've got too much in there. I did put a good couple of drops in there. So what I think I'm going to do now is I will quickly just get some normal Lamy medium. Music's looping again. I don't know what's going on. Man, I just work here. I'm not even paid. Okay, let's drop some of this in here. So the medium seemed to work really, really well on the Stug. So just going to put a good few drops of that in there. I'm probably going to have to get some more because I really enjoy using that. There are other brands of medium. I wonder how they compare to the Citadel one. Obviously, quantity and cost is an issue. So, you know, is the Citadel one overpriced for the amount that you get? It does seem to be a really good quality one, so who knows? And I'm going to mix up some Agrax to go into that medium. I might use a little dropper. Let's get a little bit of Agrax in there. There we go. Little pipette droppers are wonderful. I'm going to sneak another peek, see if we can get over to the workbench, because you never know. Curses! I just don't get it. No, it's not going to happen tonight, I'm afraid, guys. You're just going to have to deal with looking at my face. Like Leslie says, loopy loopers doing the loopy loops, or bloopers, or yeah, it's just try to enjoy yourself for my benefit, please. That'd be great. Thanks. It's not going to repeat it again. It'll just do it once. Right. So, yeah, just on with the normal medium here and some Agrax. It really helps avoid all that coffee staining, and it's easier to control. If it does start to build up, it looks like it's going to start having that coffee staining issue. It's just easier to manipulate, and because you're maintaining the surface tension of the paint with the medium instead of water, it's just easier to move, and yeah, it tracks around much better on the surface. Water has its benefits, obviously, because it breaks down the surface tension. If you want to use it for more Mark slung some cash this way. There you go. Cheers, man. Thanks very much. Someone's learned emojis. A bit late on that train. What was I saying? Yeah, like with water, if you're adding water to it, you can thin it right down, and because it's always going to try and bead up and pull away from the extremities, it's really good for kind of almost sludge washing, but get like a pin wash effect out of it. But what I'm trying to do here, of course, is create a filter at the same time. So yeah, medium
is definitely the way forwards. Let me know if you use medium. I would love to know, how you use it, how it compares against other products or just simple water. I'm finding that the control the medium is offering me over water means I'm literally just slapping it on this tank now. As earlier on I was being quite careful, and I can just come back for a second pass with the brush and just move it around, and it's just not tearing or dragging the paint. I wish I knew about medium years ago. I might have been able to, get more stuff done. But I'm one of those painters that has so many projects, and like I said in the Facebook schedule, like coming back into the studio and sort of having a look around and seeing how much stuff I've still got to do was really daunting. It was almost upsetting. Like, I've been doing the show for 18 months? Yeah, 18 months. And wow, 18 months. Phenomenal. Oh, what a fade in with the music. Perfect timing. But yeah, because I've been doing the show for such a long time, I would have thought and hoped for sure that I would have had more stuff done by now. But it's not that easy. And while I'm self-diagnosed, I definitely have ADD. That's ADHD without the hyperactivity. Although I do have my hyperactive moments, as does anybody. I don't have the affliction of it, but I definitely have ADD. I work with so many people who have it, and children from all over the world, and it's easy to see reflections of myself and like, yeah, I do that. And I know that while I'm no doctor, it is safe to assume that I have attention deficit disorder, and that is absolutely fine. It just means that I need to have projects always on the go, and these last few weeks have absolutely shown me that if I'm not doing something, then my mind will wander. I become a bit of a wreck, and I know that emotions have not been my strong suit recently, but I just need 6 projects at a time. That's the way it is. As where one of my friends I was talking to, they're like, I need one project, and he's really good. Steve, if you're watching, hi Steve, who actually rarely watches the show, is really into making, repairing his motorbike. It's become his hobby, and he's very, very good at it. But that's his only hobby that he has, to the detriment of all other interests. He might dip on to a video game occasionally here or there, but this one project is his thing. As where I'm like, no, I have to have half a dozen at least at any one time. Almost the more the merrier. And he's like, no, I can never do that. So it just goes to show that actually my hobby is a reflection of my chaotic whirlwind mind. So yeah, if you are the same way, I'm actually genuinely interested. Please do get in contact, either Facebook, in the comments down here, that'd be great, or even direct message to me if you struggle with, or maybe don't struggle with, maybe you excel with ADD or just some form of attention deficit. Then if this hobby is a release for you, if it's a means of control, I would absolutely totally be interested. Yeah, obviously if it's private for you, then that's cool as well. I'm just interested in the discussion. So yeah, ADD. This really allows me to bring a little order to the chaos that is my life. I thrive at work. It is often a very, very busy, tempestuous work life. I don't get to see as many as my friends or family as I probably should do, beyond the small confines of my normal existence. At the moment it's very not busy, which has been lovely, and I've been able to go and do lots of other things and see other people. But actually when it's busy, I just get to manage to focus, come home, paint whatever's on the table, and regret not painting all the other stuff. And it seems to work for me. though I don't like it. I'd like to be able to paint everything, that would be great. So having these tanks that are being painted in this way now, getting these done, is an absolute godsend. I'm just mixing up a little bit more medium and agrax just because I went through it quite quickly there. Definitely going to need more medium, so I'm going to be looking at different products very, very soon. Right, rinse the brush out. If you're mixing paints, even if you've got good control of what you've got going on there, and you haven't like got your brush completely saturated, wash your brush between it. It just affords you so much more control and stops you from ruining your brushes, especially if they're expensive ones. I can see that there's a comment gone in right there. Just got a bit of something stuck to the top of my model. Jeff says, by the way, Zvezda is a Russian company, so might not be able to get them for long. Might want to bulk buy now. Yes, that's actually a good point. A little bit political perhaps, but definitely on point. These little models, you can get them from Flames of War, and there's a couple of other providers of them. But at the moment, Zvezda, a Russian company, is the main supplier of these. You can buy them through the Tank Museum at Bovington. Do try and get your stuff through the Tank Museum at Bovington, because all the profits go to maintaining the museum, and that's really important. Or whatever local friendly gaming store that you've got. Zvezda make 15mm miniature tanks, and they're really good quality, and they're really affordable. But being Russian, you know, it might be difficult soon. Just saying. Keston says, I have many projects because I get bored easily. ADD. I'm not diagnosing you. It's just, you know, one of the symptoms of it. Yeah, if you get bored easily and you have to flit between lots of different things, that is an attention deficit, is it not? Yeah, I have to have these projects. I have to have lots going. Otherwise, I just lose it completely. So, I've popped the turret gently. I'll show you what I mean by gently. I popped the turret on this Panzer IV, and it's raised up from the hull of the tank, which means that I don't have to have them separate while I'm painting them, because I can get underneath that quite easily while I'm just kind of washing away here. So I don't have to like hold it nimbly with my fingers and, you know, risk getting my fingers all over the freshly painted stain on there. So that's quite handy. But all the Zvezda models are very, very tight fit. This is a Zvezda model, obviously. They are very, very tight. So if you ever do make them and you come to fit in the turret, consider sort of drilling out the hole that the turret pin goes into. I'm going to have to do these at a later date because I've already started painting them. But I knew I was going to have to. I'm okay with that. That is looking absolutely brilliant, and with that medium I was able to enhance the modulation. So where in the past I've gone for darker at the back and lighter at the front, I was able to make it thinner on the front so that the filter effect is less on the front of the tank and darker at the back to match the modulation that I've painted on there. So it just kind of has that, I don't know, it's just like an interest, if you like a visual interest when you're looking at it. Also during the break, I also got out my Jagd Tiger, which is the hunting tiger, or the king tiger casemate variant. It's unnecessarily large tank. I have actually painted some camouflage over this one, but it's still yet to be pin washed. I like to do the pin washing after all the camouflage has been on there. So this is going to be an interesting tank to do, because that filter is going to be affecting 3 colours. So it's got the yellow colour on there, the green and the red. Mellabrook says, I get excited by one thing at a time, but I have to make myself finish the last thing before getting too excited by the next. More often there is a trail of incomplete projects littered behind behind me. How does that make you feel? Like when you're leaving this path of unfinished destruction behind you? Does that give you anxiety? Because that is pretty much my life. Keston says, watching your show, painting and fixing laptop on the side. Ah, okay. Cheers. Thanks. Jeff says, it's nice to have a dedicated painting workspace. Bit of a pain if you have to get it all out of the cupboard and set it up before you can start. Yeah, absolutely. Having this studio has been the best aid to my hobby ever. And growing up as a child, getting into the hobby, this is kind of always what I wanted. And I'm very fortunate to have the space and a partner who will let me have the space. Because it will be very easy to go, no, we're going to turn this into a guest room or whatever. So, yeah, I'm very fortunate. Right, let's have a sip of drink because it's firstly worth talking. Mark says, yeah, very much so. Yeah, man. I feel you. Do you know, I'm going to give this one a little bit of a dust as well because he's been sat there for such a long time. So, Mellabrook, I know that you are a resident Eldar player with the new Eldar Codex. Are you planning to get into painting some of it soon? Is this the plan, or is this what you're actually doing tonight? Would love to know, because the new Eldar Codex is amazing. It is everything that Eldar used to be. So, if you're into Eldar and you remember what they used to be, but never really thought that they'd had that since, go and get the new book, because it's amazing. Also, if you're a fan of the old squats, they're making a comeback. If you go on over to Easy 8 of Facebook, one of our collaborating groups, the Hostile Galaxy, hi Ruben, they put up posts quite regularly on Easy 8. And there's a recent release from Games Workshop, a little video of stuff coming in the future. Squats are coming back. Some sort of like space scavengers. I don't really know to what detail they're going to be coming back. Are they coming back as a full army? I know that they've kind of made an appearance, not in Kill Team, but in, was it Blackstone Fortress perhaps? They had like one character insinuating not their return, but that the race still exists, because there was a lot of talk about them being wiped out, etc, etc. But clearly they've decided to keep them, and I know that we've got squat fans in the community. If you haven't seen the video already, head on over to Facebook to find Easy 8. Find that video from the Hostile Galaxy. The video is very reminiscent of the movie Alien as well. Aliens, sorry. So drawing on a lot of hardcore fan stuff for me. So naturally, I was in. So I've noticed with this medium, while I'm slapping it all around and it's kind of, you know, blending around and moving around, just like the water, it is kind of breaking that surface tension, but I think that's because I've got the wrong ratio. What I am finding is that as I add a bit more, perhaps paint to it, that it's much easier to manipulate without that kind of tearing effect, or, you know, leaving a coffee stain sort of artifact afterwards. So if I over dilute it with medium, it still does what water does if I use too much, and it is a lot more than water, but it's still easier to repair or recover. So that's an interesting thing here, and I have to say it's really working very, very well on the camouflage colours. I'm gonna have to go in and sort of lift some of it up, but you can see what it was looking like a minute ago compared to how it's looking now. It's really tying all of those colours together. I'm sold. Mellowbrook says it's always on the project list, somewhere at that 3-year mark, I think. Today is step 2 of making a copper wire tree, making the leaf strands. Ah, beautiful. If you're so inclined, share a picture on Facebook. Show the world your hobby, or your creations at least. I was certainly going through the medium pretty quickly. It's safe to say that I'm going to have to buy some more. Because I've had such good, or such a success with the Citadel Lamium medium, is that I'll get some more of that for sure. And then I'll have a little look at other mediums that are out there. I thought I did have one, but I had no, it's a crackle medium that I've got, which of course isn't going to give the same sort of effect here, is it? Jeff says, what were they all shouting about the other day on one of the sites? Bugs and orcs. I'm not a 40 key player, so I didn't read it. So, yes, basically a little while ago, and I've only just caught the tail end of the conversation. I don't... To bring the story quickly, Games Workshop have been bringing out so many sort of books, rule books, like mini rule books and campaigns. It's very hard for me to keep up with everything else that I do in my life. But from what I can gather, a little while ago there was the Octavian War, or the Octarius conflict zone, which is an orc warlord called Octarius, or in the Octarius zone. Just shows you how much I don't know. And they were fighting the Tyranids. The Tyranids absolutely love it because masses and masses of biomass to eat, and the orcs love it because a great punch up. So it was a massive conflict that went on and on and on. And I'm sure in the middle of it there were other factions as well, but not necessarily. And that's been going on for some months now. That the release of that campaign book was some time ago. And today I read a little comment attached to a thread about it, saying that the Tyranids won, which is normally not the case. Normally the Tyranids are held off. So that's kind of cool to have a little victory. But of course that's just leading up to the new Tyranid Codex release. So Eldar was the last Codex. Tyranids are on their way. There's a lot of teasers about all of the information coming out, and Tyranids look like they're having a very strong release at the moment as well. So yes, this is in the wake of that story basically. Nice to have a good win. That's not to say that in the lore they don't win, but there's no real active campaigns that the Tyranids seem to come out on top, if you like. Not that I can remember anyway. Right. Again, just mixing up some Agrax with Lamia Medium. Now I feel once again that tonight's painting has seemed almost fruitless in the fact that it's a 2-hour show. I know I diatribed at the beginning, but it does feel like that all I've done is just put some pin wash on some tanks, but I've done so much in comparison to what I normally would do, and the effects are really, really good. So that's a win. That is speeding up at very little cost of quality. Still got to do the wheels on them, but that's going to take me seconds. Staff says, you do realise the date, don't you? Squats, yeah. Oh, yeah, April Fool. It's a shame because it was a whole video about it. Maybe they are going to come back. This Jagdtiger is such a large tank. To keep on making up the stain for it. I haven't made nearly enough there. Needs more colour. can see that there's lots of activity going on right now over at Easy 8 on Facebook. Good. Get on over there. Have a little look at all the stuff that's happening over there. If you haven't already, if you're joining us a little bit late, like I say, this isn't a tutorial group, this is just a social group. Normally you can see what I'm painting. Totes soz. Cameras are not working. Do you know what? Let's go have another look. Let's go have another cheeky little look. Is it working? Fingers crossed. No! Rubbish. I'm so sorry. So normally you can see what I'm painting, because otherwise it'll be a bit of a rubbish show if it was always like that. The show's rubbish anyway, I'm really sorry. What can you do, eh? Thanks for sticking around. Maybe it's because it's April Fool's Day. I haven't done it deliberately. I actually hate April Fools. And I'm a joker and a practical joker at the best, but I just don't like being taken for a fool the same day every year. This morning a colleague played on my sympathy, pretended to break their leg. And then we're like, haha, no, I just painted a bruise on me. It was a very convincing bruise, well done. Hobby painter win. So I told that a colleague of mine how very unimpressed I was. It was very well done though, so I did have to give the credit. It did look like a really bad injury. Right, so just doing the back of this Jagdtiger now. When it comes to the back panel, I'm just throwing it in there because it's all grubby and dirty and whatever. So it doesn't really matter. Still keeping some sort of control in there. Just finishing that off, and then I can go back and have a look at all the others that I've done, see how well those different techniques have paid off, and then consider doing the wheels. Leslie says, how loud would you scream if you tried the camera just before the show ends and it works? I don't know, but I might write a very strongly worded letter and post it on Facebook. See how that goes. I will try it. I will try it. Being British, I don't really do anger. I do very miffed, and I get very cross, and then I hold it internally. Then I write a very strongly worded letter to go and stand in the post office queue or something, you know. Well, the filter, and even if I was to show you on the camera, it wouldn't really show it off that well. The filter on these camouflage colours is absolutely phenomenal. It's really, really good. So yeah, this might be a future thing. This might even be something that I do with my 35mm or 135mm millimeter build. 135th millimeter. What's in this drink? My 135th builds is that I know that I do the pin washing with all the enamel products, but actually as a filter, this works really, really well. Blends all those colours together. I would obviously take my time with it and, you know, really make it count. That looks really, really good. Cool. So I just touched the side of the cannon there, didn't I, with my fingers? Lovely. Right. Let's pick that up and put him over there. It's looking really good, if you haven't picked that up already. So, Melibrick says, if the Hulk were British, things would get done. That's what I'm saying. Leslie says, standing in a queue, that's a level of commitment and anger I've yet to achieve. I'm so cross I have to stand here in an orderly fashion and calm down until I reach the front of the queue and tell you about it and lose the whole scope of the problem. Oh, it's good being British, right? So, the first tank that I did was the King Tiger, and it looks really, really cool. Just making sure that there are parts I haven't missed. There's a little bit of coffee staining on there, but actually on this one it's actually much darker than the other tanks, so this one looks grimier or dirtier without sacrificing on much. It's actually quite a nice effect. But this is because when I did this one, I did it with the water rather than using medium. So as you can see here, if it's really picking it out all that well, but there's some streaks and things, especially on the side of the turret and down the side of the skirts there. And again, if I change it over, you might see even more here. Looks really cool. It's a very dark and grimy looking tank. Compare that to the Jagd Panther. This one is much lighter, and this one was done with, oh excuse me, hiccups, it's that drink. This one's done with water as well, so this one was harder to control, and those large open armor slabs, especially on the front. You can see some like sort of artifacting and staining on there, coming down the side of the cannon. Not on the cannon, but actually on the front armor there, the glacis. So that was harder to control and achieve the desired effects. So using a medium would definitely have helped. And if you have a look on the rear, just under my index finger here, you can see a big streak where it's just kind of settled. Unavoidable. That was just the way it happened. Oh, not unavoidable. I could have stopped it. And then I moved over to using medium on the Stug 3, and this is really, really good. Very little in terms of artifacting. There's one little bit, and that is just here. It's really hard to point. Just there. Really fun. I've still got to do the wheels on them yet, and like that whole little cavity, and inside the track area. But that's cool. And then I did the Panzer IV, which is still a little bit wet. So you can see it's a little bit glossy there. You can see obviously inside the track area and the wheels how clean the colour it was, and then compare it to how it's looking now. It's looking really, really cool. And then. Jagd Panther, Jagd Tiger, which has got the camouflage colours on it. Again, the wheels tell you how clean the colour was, and then moving on to the top, how it's all kind of blended together. Photos will do it more justice, so I will take some more photos of that. If I compare it to the Panther, where I've tried to use the enamel products and not succeeded really at all, I don't know if this camera's going to pick it out, but you can see that it's just not done the same sort of thing. Again, on the bigger build, rather than just kind of trying to do the whole thing within 20 minutes, you're doing panel at a time, almost like a side of a tank an evening, if that. So there's a lot more focus and time and effort that kind of goes into that. That's cool. That's the way it is. But I think for these little tanks, acrylic stains are the way forwards. So Staff, cheers mate, because yeah, you inspired me to do this, and it saved me a lot of time. And the effects are astounding, phenomenal. Guess says, I would watch a British Hulk. I don't think it'd be very exciting. Jeff says, would a very, very, very light dry brush get rid of any staining and pop the detail? It might do. It's worth having a go, isn't it? I might do that later. Like I said in the schedule, really want to just kind of clear the worktop of mini tanks. I've got so many little projects on the go up here. I've got the Carnifex from 40k, Brenda, that still needs finishing off on the base, so she still needs doing. I've got a Trigon here, which is a project that I'm trying to move to as soon as I can. I've also got a little, I say a private build, but a build that I'm not doing on the show, which is my 135th Stuart. It's a beautiful tank. The reason that it's taken me so long to kind of get on, I've had this one since Christmas. The reason that it's taken me so long to finish off is there were a few problems with it that took some attention. and it's got the interior, which is a really cool detail piece. I'm not going to paint that; it's just nice to build it. That would slot inside the bottom part of the hull, and the top part of the hull would slot on over the top of it. There's like a little hatch just inside here, but its thickness was preventing this from sitting low enough for the top part of the hull to sit on, and it was forcing it all out. So I had to just basically get my little mini sander and just spend ages and ages and ages sanding it down. It also has a really tricky set of tracks that are designed to be melted together because they don't work with glues. So I know that that's not going to work very well, especially with my clumsy hands. So that I've got to basically I've got to try and stitch them together. So I've got to drill some holes through them, which is going to be an easy enough job. But then using very tiny modelling wire basically, and essentially staple them together. So there's a lot of effort that's going into that particular build that's taking a long time. Jeff was very kind earlier on and sent me a picture, which I will put up on Facebook later on because it's a really nice diorama. I think it's a 1/35th build, but it's a tow truck with a flatbed behind it towing the German mouse, which is just a fantastic diorama to see. But if you remember a couple of weeks ago I was talking about how to paint this, it was done half and half of the two colours that I was thinking about doing. Or some of the colours I was thinking about doing. So the turret was painted in the dark yellow colour, the standard colours that all my stuff is painted in, and the bottom was painted in primer red, and there was chains and things hanging over it, and it looked grimy and dark without being too dark. It was a really good effect. I'm like, ooh, that might be something to do on that one. So the idea is just basically to clear the worktop down because there's just so many little tanks here at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to head on over to the workbench and see if it's working. Oh. Well, that's new. This is my new tartan gingham worktop. Does that count, Leslie? Is that what you wanted? If I move to the workbench ending and I get the little thing in the bottom corner, is it gonna... It's not changing anything, is it? Well, look, I'm really sorry about the way today's turned out. I was trying to make it like really emotional and like connected, and you like kind of feel sorry, not for me, but just, you know, for general circumstances, and be like hyped to get back on the painting train again, and then just nothing works. But that's the way that a live stream goes, and I love it. I'm going to do one more time. Here we go. No, that's it. Well. That's it, guys. Today, my lesson in painting perpetual darkness has come to an end. I hope you've enjoyed it. Kes says Hulk miffed. It'll be a great film. Yes, Kes says Leslie. I wonder what British Hulk would look like. I don't know. Maybe he'd wear a bowler hat and a monocle with a walking cane, perhaps. Mellabrook says, cafe order is completely wrong and cold. Waiter, how's your order? Hulk, everything is just lovely. Thank you. I think we got a script going here, guys. Let's start that on Facebook. Let's start a new thread. Put it over there in one of the mentions. Let's see if we can start our own Incredible Hulk miffed British version script. That'd be great. Leslie says, yes, it's something like an old games console that's gone on strike. Yeah. It's not having it, is it? No. Whatever. Look, we got 10 minutes to the end. I'm going to carry on doing a little bit of painting, see what happens. Yum, yum, yum. Vodka. Right. So, I think what I'll do is I'm going to go back to the King Tiger, which is the first tank that I painted tonight. And I'm just going to do inside the wheels and inside the track area there. Like I said, I've still got to do the insides of the tracks. So I've painted the outside of the tracks. That went really well. But I've still got to paint the insides, going in around the wheels and getting all the sort of the teeth on the inside all painted is probably the long and tedious job. And I've got a couple of days off coming up. Can't do it tomorrow, but on Sunday I'm just going to see if I can sit down and just for the day just get all those little tiny details painted. all the rims of the tyres, all the wheels have still got to be painted. Corvus Black is a really good colour for that. So if you're looking for a quick solution to tyre colours, Corvus Black from Citadel. It's a slightly greyed black. Like I say, tyre rubber isn't black, especially old tyre rubber like from World War II isn't black. Yeah, and it really stands out if you paint your miniatures with black on your tyres. Oh, that is a very bubbly drink. I'm very, very sorry. So, for the last little bit then, let's get... I will get a blob of Agrax Earthshade. There we go, lovely. Just clean the pip out there because I don't want to be transferring any paint colours into the medium. And then I'll get some medium. Just a drop. There we go. This is Bruce Banner. Get me my fighting trousers. Oh. And we're going old school British, are we? Okay. Victorian British Incredible Hulk. What has happened on this show? It's gone to the dogs. I don't like your tweed, sir. It's a very good sentence. I love it. Maybe I could get Easy 8 tweed. New merchandise line there. Oh dear. Like I said in my schedule, it's just great to be back. Thanks to the company. So literally now just painting the wheels with this colour, this little stain. Is stain the right word? Is that because I've always grown up calling it stain? It's a filter. A stain. It does a filter and a pin wash and everything all in one go. So yeah, it's a stain, right? And if I compare what the unpainted side is like, focus. It's not going to focus. To the other side, focus. I can only apologise for the behaviour of my cameras this evening. Take my word for it, looks nice. Leslie says, "You're most welcome, buddy." Thanks, man. Kessin says, "Hulk stand in line, very cross." Hulk goes to the cinema, tries to get down the line. Excuse me, so sorry, thank you, so sorry. I'm enraged, I'm so sorry, excuse me. Hulk pops to shops. This is bonkers. I haven't painted the undersides with most of these tanks, some of them I have, but this King Tiger here is so dark underneath I don't think it really needs it. So while I'm doing the wheels, I'm just going to do the underside of the Glacis, which is the front armour, just so it all kind of blends in. But underneath it's just so dark, I'll just clean the brush off essentially and just kind of whatever I've got left in the palette, that'll be fine really. You don't ever really see underneath the tanks in the game. And even if you do, like I say, it's so dark it doesn't really matter. There. That is essentially all the staining done on that tank. That's brilliant. I love it. And like Jeff says, I might give them a slight dry brush, but I'll do it all together and I'll make it so faint you won't even notice really. There's no point in doing it, so I won't. I will. Right. What other tanks? I might make a quick filter for the Jagdpanther to see if I can just hide some of that artifacting there. I'll drop a blob of Agrax into there. I'm going to have to buy some more Agrax as well, that's for sure. Let's close that lid. Excellent, a bit of medium. Loving the medium, it's working for me today. It really is very, very good. I'm making this quite thin, quite a transparent one, because obviously I've already got a stain on there. And yeah, it's just so much easier to control. It's so much more forgiving than water. So if you're doing sludge washes, or you're trying to get filters, and you want to do them nice and quick, try not to use water. Go and pick yourself up some medium. Have a play. Take your time to start with. Give yourself a chance to learn. And you might be really, really surprised. And already I've rescued this tank. So it's really worth it. It's really, really worth it. You can still see some of that artifacting underneath. But because I put a new coat over the top, it's dry. Because I put a new coat over the top, it's taking all that attention away from it. So yeah, medium. Today's all been about the medium. Oh no, I didn't do the back of him. Ha! Idiot. But that's okay. I'm here now. Still got to do the wheels on him anyway, so it's not like he's missed out on anything. Wonderful. So, I don't know if you could see very well earlier on, or if you remember how it looked, but with the application of another layer of medium over the top, it's really, it hasn't hidden it completely, but it has done, you know, it's kind of disguised the problems that the water mixture did. What is medium? Asks Kez. Medium is a product that you can buy from Citadel or other manufacturers. You might be able to buy it for cheaper in larger quantities. We know that Citadel is expensive and gives you small amounts, but have a look. This is a good place to start. Citadel Lamia Medium. Basically, it is paint without colour. So it is the aqueous medium that the pigment in your paint sits in. It has a tighter surface tension than water does. It is ever so slightly more viscous. It has the appearance of paint. Music's looping again. I don't know why it's doing that. Basically, if you add medium into your paint, you are diluting the pigment. In the same way that if you are adding water, you are adding more aqueous to it, so that there is more volume to the same amount of pigment, if that kind of makes sense. If you use water to mix down your paint, it has less surface tension, so that when you're applying it in whatever form onto your model, it is going to all try to bead up and try and pull in, because water wants to be together. It doesn't like being spread out and laid flat. Paint does. That's why you can paint and coat a whole side of a model or a tank or whatever. If you were to try and paint the side of your house with coloured water, it would bead up and all bunch up together, which is why we paint with paint. By adding medium, basically colourless paint, to it, you're adding more paint to the colour, so the colour's kind of got more volume to spread out in. Not really making it sound very, very simple, but basically you are diluting the colour, thinning it down if you like, but without sacrificing on the surface tension. So you can get better glazes, you can get better filters, you can get better washes and pin washes and things by adding medium. It's definitely worth playing around with. There, like I said at the beginning of the show, there are different types of medium. There's contrast medium, which basically turns your paint into a contrast paint. I think it probably doesn't have the same effect as a contrast paint would, and like I said earlier on, because it is white in its appearance, it has seemed to have kind of made the paint kind of milky. So maybe less is more with this one. Adding a smaller ratio of this to your paint color will give you a better effect. But it all takes playing around with. When I'm mixing Lamy and medium, the clear medium, to my paints, I like to mix it around about 50-50, and it depends on the colour that you're applying and the effect that you're looking for. But 50-50 is a good place to start with. Like I say, there are other places that you can buy medium from. I know that Green Stuff World do a medium, and they sell it in large containers, not massive pots. But do I have one of their containers with me here? Yes, I have one of their texture paint things. So this is about the size that you would expect to get paint medium from Green Stuff World. I don't know the quality of that product. I know that Vallejo do various types of medium. I've got Crackle medium here, which does the same thing as Crackle paint does, but this is without the colour, so you can add whatever colour you want to this one. This doesn't crackle as much as Games Workshop stuff, or Citadel stuff. Citadel do make good products, it's just expensive. I don't want to sit here and turn this into a slate of games. It's very easy to kind of poke fingers at Citadel or Games Workshop and go, your prices are too high. Those arguments already exist out there. I love Games Workshop. I love the products that they make, and I love their games. I know people fall in and out of love with them all the time. Their stuff is expensive, and that has to be acknowledged. I still buy it. It's very good stuff. You just might be able to buy larger volumes from other brands. It's worth playing around with, but for a good start, Citadel, trust me. Yeah, cool. Stafford's Easy 8 hoodies, got to be done. We've been talking about it, we've been designing them. We're obviously in the middle of that field of dreams. So yeah, bear with me. Easy 8 merchandise. It's being looked into. Leslie says, I'd buy Easy 8 hoodies. Cheers. Thanks very much. I've got matte and gloss medium. Very cool stuff to play around with. That's another thing as well. You can buy gloss and matte versions of those mediums. So if you want your paint to turn out shiny, add a gloss medium. In the same way that if you're using things like non-oil, which I hate non-oil, but I love Agrax Earthshade, you can buy gloss and matte versions of those as well. So, yeah. There's many products out there. Have a play. Have a play. Right. But that does kind of leave us at the end of the show. It's been a great night, even though the camera hasn't worked. And if you're watching this for the first time, or you just kind of dip in and out of the show, I'm really sorry. It makes it feel really cheap and kind of pointless. But for me, it's been really nice to come back to the community. So thanks for being there. Thanks for waiting and hanging around all this time and wasting your Friday evening with me. Last few weeks have been really traumatic, and I'm surprised I kept it together. But yeah, thanks, essentially. Thank you. I'll be here next week. Yeah, cool. I'm going to try and get back on the social platform and ride this wave of emotion through. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I would like to get back onto Tyranids. That'd be great, especially with the promise of Tyranids coming back from Games Workshop. We'll see what happens. And I will endeavour to get my camera working. Apologies again. Thanks ever so much for stopping by, Easy 8. We're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Discord. After this show, I'll take a quick 5-minute break to go and say hello to my other half, and then I will be over on the after party, Easy 8 after party. I can never say it. I made it and I can't say it. Easy 8's after party at Discord. There's a link just down there. Kess, I would love to have a chat with you. If you've got time to come on over and chat with me over on Discord and talk about the camera things, there are some technical issues that you need to be aware of. That would be great. And they're not for the public domain, well, not for the live show domain anyway. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by. I love you all. I'll be here next week, and until then, stay safe, be kind, and keep on painting. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye now. Wow, it's been a crazy, crazy show. Miss you, Newt.